Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome back to our audio blogs. It's the Neil Adams Effective Fighting audio blogs, number 9. And today we're going to be talking with Neil about the Olympic year 2012. What a year coming up. Neil's just come back from the Masters in Kazakhstan a couple of weeks back and told me there was a definite tingle to the air, a different change of winds. So today we're going to discuss before Olympics and really what happens after the Olympics. Welcome, Neil.
Yep, thank you. And I think what we've got to do is really consider the different kind of approaches that different athletes have. Not forgetting that a lot of the athletes, it's going to be their first time. Of course, they're very excited about the prospect of an Olympic Games. You've also got to consider that most people have won Olympic Games in their lifetime. Some of the exceptional ones, have 2, and some of the really exceptional ones have 3 chances at it. But every approach is different. And it was interesting because in Kazakhstan, the World Masters, top 16 fighters in every weight category were in there.
Well, let's take it back. Let's take it back. Like the last tournament of 2011 was Qingdao, and you did the commentary in Qingdao for the Grand Prix, and then 2 weeks later you were in Almaty, Kazakhstan for the Masters, doing the commentary there. A marked difference, you said. People were tired coming into Christmas, things like that, and then you said there was a different feeling of not even anticipation, maybe even a little bit of panic in the air in Kazakhstan.
Yeah, I think that China was slightly different. It was the end of 2011, and a lot of these athletes have been fighting each other for 2 years, on and off, on a regular basis as well, which is what we didn't. I mean, we did fight each other a lot, but we didn't fight each other
every weekend.
No, not every weekend, as regularly as they do now. And coming into China, I think everybody was kind of looking for a little bit of a break coming into Christmas. But, the thing is that they couldn't really have a break if they were, looking to the World Masters. And the World Masters, coming out of Christmas to, a week and a half after Christmas, and you've got to carry on the training through Christmas, and psychologically that can have an effect. And also it can have an effect because you're not doing the same kind of preparation, because you haven't got the randories and you haven't got the physical drive, and everybody else is partying, and also you're coming into Olympic year. And coming into Olympic year really makes a difference. And the difference that I saw, and I'm up in the commentary position, and don't forget that I'm commentating on all of the Grand Prix, Grand Slams, a lot of the World Cups as well as the World Championships, European Championships. And I can see a marked difference, and I could see a marked difference between the attitudes of the athletes.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the difference? Is it posture? Is it body language? Is it attitude? Or just an overall feeling?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture between terror and just really...
The pressure's on now.
The pressure was really on, and I think there were a lot of athletes there that, have been labelled as, absolute favourites for Olympic gold medals.
Which is added pressure. That's unbelievable pressure. Really.
It's unbelievable pressure, and it's easy, to roll off the tongue, the most consistent fighter in this weight category, or, the best, the very best, and, but there's no guarantees for Olympic gold medals. There are absolutely no guarantees, and surprises happen. And you've got to remember that, with this particular build-up to an Olympic Games, this is different because we've had such a difficult qualification system. So these athletes have been fighting each other for the last 3.5 years consistently, over and over again at world events. And, so they are used to each other. They're used to fighting each other.
Well, let's take an example. I know that we talk about it quite a bit, is the 73 kilos Wang of Korea. He tends to be your favorite example of what's happening and what the transition that athletes have to do at that level in order to keep competitive and to stay on top?
Well, I think when it's very, very competitive like this, I mean, there are several dangers. I mean, obviously, burnout is one of the dangers because, you know, these athletes can't keep going and going, competing at the highest level. Tennis had the same problem. But what happened was with Wang, I mean, he was 2 times world champion, and then in 2010, 2011, he lost his world titles because people were reading his techniques, or they were used to him, and he had to reinvent himself. And I use him as as a prime example because you can see that he's changed his game and his mindset. And
how so?
I mean, changed? Because, you know, he's now...
he was head and shoulders above everybody.
Yeah, he was throwing most people for Ippon and, yeah, head and shoulders above. And now he's having to dig in. And, you know, I can see that his coaches had to speak to him and say that, look, if you want that Olympic title, you're going to have to go to war. And if that...
Yuko wins the medal as well.
Well, a Yuko, you know, we're looking for wins here, and you know, if that's the way you have to do it, then we have to do it that way. And I think that you know, what's happened is that he's now you know, in the World Masters, for example, the semi-final against the Russian, you know, it was absolute bloodbath, you know, and he came off, he was holding his ribs, and the Russian was, you know, holding his arms, and you know, they could hardly walk, you know, they were staggering back, you know, but you know, the difference is that he is willing to go 5 to 8 minute contest to time if he has to in order to win that gold medal. And I think it's a mindset. And I think that once you get your mind wrapped around that, then you're in for a chance for the gold medal. And I think that, you know, if you have a look at the people that lost, the number ones that lost in, you know, at the World Masters, and, you know, obviously, you know, we're looking at the great... Iliadis, and we're looking at Teddy Riner didn't lose, but he wasn't there. But then, you know, a couple of the other number ones, Soborov, for example, lost, and he lost well. You know, and that was the first time.
Badly in his eyes.
Badly, yes,
his eyes,
yeah, exactly. But I mean, he lost
decisively.
Decisively, and he hasn't been beaten in 30. He hadn't been beaten at that level for 39 contests.
That was his 40th contest.
Well, that was his 40th contest, you know, and you know, at that level. And he was unbeaten. So nobody is unbeatable, and especially Olympic year. And, you know, it can easily go wrong. And I should know because it happened twice to me, you know. And so, you know, and I was clear favourite in both the Olympic Games that I was at.
Let's just touch on that just for a second. I wasn't going to go there, but since you've brought us there. 81s in Moscow, 81 Olympics against Ezio Gamba.
In the 1980 Olympics, yes.
80, sorry,
Moscow,
80,
yeah.
I think 81 Worlds. Right, 80 in Moscow, lost by a split decision. So, I mean, you've had many years to think about it and wonder really what went wrong, what happened. And we've had a few discussions privately on what we thought went wrong, and I think you've come to
you know, there are several things. You know, I mean, you can say, well, it's final preparation. You can say, well, it's the Olympic Games.
You were 71 kilos then.
I was 71 kilos, and I was halfway between 71 to 78 kilograms. And in fact, I was a bit more. I was more up to 78 kilograms than I was. And
you were fighting that whole year in 78 before.
Yeah, well, I mean, every contest that I'd fought in that year, I'd fought at 78 kilograms, including the Europeans, and I hadn't lost a contest. So the only contest I lost was the split decision in the Olympic Games at 71 kilograms. Now, people might say, well, why did you bring your weight down for 71s? And I was seeded then at the lower weight.
You were looking at the strategy of it all.
I was looking at the strategy, you know, but the way I lost my weight was definitely paramount to, you know, to the final result, because I had no energy, I didn't lose the weight right, and
So you know, having like a nutritionist on board or that sort of sports science might have, or that kind of support, may have made the difference.
That certainly would have helped me in you know, that situation, and you know, so you can look at that and you can say, well, you know, that cost me dearly, and you know, because I had nothing at the end of it. I was always on catch up throughout the fight. And
Only
then,
on that fight, you said the preliminaries.
yeah, but I mean, you know,
were okay,
that's it, isn't it? I mean, the
but as soon as you were
preliminaries I won
pushed.
by ippon, all
Right.
of them by ippon, so there
Right.
was no, you know, it didn't matter. So, you
But
know.
then Ezio pushed you, as he does, because he's
Yeah,
a
well,
fantastic judoka.
and you know, it was lost, you know, because I couldn't quite catch up, and I just lost it. And then, of course, you got 84 Olympic Games where I was, you know, the clear favourite at the higher weight, and I was, you know,
Against Frank Winiker.
against Frank Winiker, who was not even seeded, you know. So, I mean, in that particular time, you know, you could have an unseeded, you know, and you still can here. And it might happen, you know. At this Olympic Games, you are going to have the ones that have come in as a you know, a low seed, and they're going to cause upsets because you know, the top seeds
I see
here,
that with the Cubans, haven't I said that? But
well,
we'll get to that later. I
you
want
know,
to bring
the
that up.
top seeds here, you know, could, you know, go down. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I think the most consistent fighters will win through. I don't think that it's always going to go their way as to the particular colour of the medal that they want to win.
Well, I want to speak a little bit about the 84 Olympics, because I can see a correlation between what you tell me about your build-up to 84 and then some of the athletes that we see and talk to now. A lot of them are tired. And some of them, I know for me, in 96, it was a tough competition just for me to get to the Olympics, Pan American-wise. And I felt myself, instead of looking forward, the only reason I was looking forward to the Olympics was that it was going to be over. I could retire. I was counting down the days for it to be done, and that's not the way you should be looking at it.
No, it's not, but unfortunately, I mean, that's the way I felt at the 84 Olympic Games. I was really tired, and you know, it wasn't just a physical tiredness, because, you know, I mean, from a physical point of view, you're still able to do the job, but from a mental perspective, I was extremely tired.
And you were starting a family.
Yeah, I just, yeah, I was starting a family, and just my whole mental approach was changing, and I think that the danger is that you turn off and retire just too early, a little bit too early. Now, I can see that in some of these athletes, and I looked.
They're counting down the days.
I recognised it, Nikki. You know, straight away, I looked and I thought, you know, and I'm friends with Iliadis, and we do speak, and you know, one of the things he said was, I have to get my mental state right for this Olympic Games, and he does, and he has got a young family, and he has a lot of plans for afterwards, but he needs to put that on hold. If he's going to he needs to get his head wrapped around, you know, the Olympic gold medal, and get it done, and then, you know, enjoy the rest of his life. You know, but I mean, that's what it's all about. You know, you've got to, in some stages, and certainly in mine in 84, you know, I wanted to finish 6 months earlier, and I saw that and recognized it at this
it's almost
World
like
Masters.
Christmas for us women. Do you know what I mean? Like, to put it into layman's terms, it's such a build-up to Christmas, and then on Christmas Day you think, oh, it's over. You're counting down the days because you're wrapping and your preparations and your dinners and everything. And,
which is great if
you
it's
have to
Christmas
push
Day, you
through
do
it.
that, you know. But if you
True.
do it 3 months too early, you know, then you've got problems. And I recognise that with, you know, definitely the pressure's getting to them. And I think that the psychological approach now, from now on into the Olympic Games, is of paramount importance.
And what we'll touch on later is it does affect after the Olympics, because you can't go back. You have to push through it, and you don't want those regrets on the other side.
And you know, those regrets happen for a long time. You know, they stay with you for a long time.
And they affect you.
And they do affect you. They affect your life. You know, I mean, we've talked about it before, about after Olympic Games or after judo retirement counselling, and how important it is, you know, to have, I mean, because you've had this fantastic life. You've travelled all over the world, and you've competed, and that's all you've done is trained and competed, and then all of a sudden you're...
Real life hits you between your eyes.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you're into real life, and you've got to survive there, and it's very difficult.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that, because I want to talk about after the Olympics and retirement and things like that. What about, like right now, it's all about strategy. Let's talk about strategy. Everybody has their continental championships at the end of April. at the end of April, and that's when all points stop. So now it's the big push to the end of April. Here it's Europeans, over at home it's Pan American. So what's the strategy now? The people at the top who have worked their asses off all year and are at top, are they going to sit back now? Are they going to take a bit of a rest, or are they going to keep trying to accumulate those points?
It's not about resting. What it is about preparation. And the thing is the reason they've worked so hard in order to get their world rankings up into the top 8 is that they can prepare for this the last final 5-month push up into the Olympic Games. And that certainly, would be my strategy. The preparation is the key. And I was talking to my very dear friend, Alexander Yaskevich, just a couple of days ago, and he was saying to me that the big problem at the moment is that nobody can prepare. Everybody's competing. It's competing every other weekend, and and obviously
that's because the main focus is to be top 8, go in seeded top 8.
Yeah, well, it's a fact that if you're going a top 8 now as a top 8 seed, then you're going to have an easier or certainly a better first round or second round match. It can go first round or second round. But if you go in as an 8 to 16, then you're going to be on the side. You could pull one of the top-ranked fighters' first fight. If you're on the outside of that, you're going to get a fight, against one of the lower ranks first of all to get into, to get to meet one of the top players. But, no matter what happens, certainly the ones in the top 8 are going to have the best medal chances. And, that's what the strategy of qualification was all about, is getting into the top 8. And, I think that was one of the problems with, obviously the GB team, can put in a full team, but I think they realized that they've got to qualify some of their people as highly as they possibly can to give them a chance of Olympic medals.
Now, I think the wild card, because me being Pan-American, I know the strength of the Cubans team, especially the Cuban women. I think, we saw them in Arlon this weekend in Belgium, this past weekend. They are training to go to Paris Grand Slam, so that'll be interesting. I think the Europeans haven't had enough of a taste of the Cuban style to be comfortable with it. I think they're going to upset people.
We saw it in Belgium just 2 days ago. The Cuban women
took it all.
Well, they absolutely obliterated everybody. And the thing is that they will go in there. They won't, because of financial constraints. They weren't able to do all of the qualification events. So they're going to go in there as low
so they'll be on this
seeds.
Outside.
They're going to be on the outside, and they're going to go in there and upset the odds. You're absolutely right. And, there's going to be 1 or 2 athletes as well, some of the ones that probably doing their last Olympic Games, they're in there just for the last chance, like I did in '88. And, they're going to, 1 or 2 of those are going to create upsets.
I have to say, if it was my kind of strategy, if I was able to prepare, say I was Ducos, wouldn't that be nice? But say I was Ducos, I would take a little vacation out to Cuba or get some South American experience, do a training camp out there or something, because it's a different style, completely different style, different attitude, different drive, everything. I think it's going to be very interesting to watch.
I think that there are 2 different kind of mental applications and preparations for Olympic Games or for competition. Now, you can enter competition just to see, because you've got world championships every year, so you can be a world champion. But if the Olympic Games is your thing, then you've got to prepare for an Olympic Games. And preparation certainly is different for an Olympic Games. It's a different event. It's a different, the whole ethos of the competition when you get there is different. The feel of it is different, and we've come into Olympic year now. There were a lot of nervous fighters, very experienced fighters as well, and they were very nervous. And it
tends to be the ones that have already been Olympic champions or world champions.
I think it suddenly hit them. Well, I keep saying about Iliadis, and because
And
I mean,
Soborov.
really, and Soborov as well, and also Teddy Riner. And I'm saying that because everybody's put him down as an absolute cert for a gold medal. All right, and there's nothing certain in Olympic Games, and
No.
Anything could happen. Anything could happen. What they've got to do is, and I'm a big one on consistency, as you know, and what they've got to be is consistent in their preparation, both physically and mentally. So, instead of coming into this and thinking, right now this is Olympic year, they've got to come into it just the same as they came into last year and just get their minds wrapped round. It's another competition. We're going to go in there and, and do what I do best, which is be consistent.
Need to come in like a lion and leave like a lamb, like March.
Something like that.
Excellent. Well, that's one thing that you keep on about. I think people would really like to know is you keep saying about preparation. What is preparation? What kind of preparation do you think they should be doing then?
Well, I mean, the thing is that I only had 4 big competitions a year, which meant that I could prepare for them because I was already selected
you mean
for
like
each one of
phasing
them.
and that?
Yeah, you can triple phase and phase up for each event. That is one thing that you cannot do with the amount of competitions that they're having to do now.
Or you have to be very selective.
Or you have to be very selective, or you have to be a clear number one. So if you are a clear number one, you build up your points early, and then you prepare afterwards. Once you've got a mountain of points, and you're the clear world ranked one, then you can prepare for certain competitions.
All right. What I'm trying to get at though is preparation. I'm trying to lead you into what you always say, your philosophy. Only judo can produce judo. So a lot of, how we say we can get wrapped up in sports science. Yes. and physical training and the cardio bit. However, it's all about banking randoris and banking randori experience or fighting experience and getting that kind of judo cardio up. There's nothing to replace it.
There is nothing to replace it. And the thing is that a lot of these small countries, of course, they don't have the partners. And that's why a lot of these training camps have been devised, so that we can get the randoris. And, with Belgium, for example, we've just been going from camp to camp. And I emphasize all the time that how important it is to bank the randoris and get them in. You can run as much as you like.
Let's give our listeners some numbers, because that's always a good quantifiable item. So for Olympic Games, what should a champion be banking in terms of randoris a week?
Quality, and somebody asked me, said to me on a blog, what are quality randoris? And I said, well, that is determined by the level. So if you're world class, you need world class randoris.
Right.
If you're lower class, then you need, those kind.
Equal or higher.
Yeah, equal or higher to get your level up. And for me,
Let's say Olympic and World.
Olympic and Worlds, it was 70, plus 5-minute randoris a week, which is what I used to do when I went to Japan. And, for my base kind of randori, it was always 40 to 50. Now, when you consider, 40...
That was your minimum that you did a week.
40 to 50, 5 minutes. Now it's 5 to 8. Okay, so it's a slightly different...
With the golden score.
With the golden score, but you've got to train for that, of course. But you see, the thing is that you've got to say, well, okay, so we've got to chase those. So I chased them through the camps, or I went to Japan, or I went to Korea, and, that's where we got the randoris. But it's absolutely imperative that you bank those. If you haven't got those, doesn't matter how much running or how much sports science or how much preparation you do in the gym, it doesn't prepare you for the physical requirements, the judo requirements. And there's no substitute.
Well, let's bring in injury then, because you were saying that with everyone fighting everybody all the time, there's no chance for phasing. There seems to be more injuries, or why would there be injuries, or is that at the lower levels?
I think at the lower levels, if you have a look at
Euro Cups, Cups.
You just look at other sports, low level kind of soccer, for example, and you get the 5-a-side people that do it twice a week, and
that's my influence. Yeah. Football here.
Yeah, okay, soccer. Yeah, sorry, but I mean, they're always injured. Or they go in, they twist something, and they have no base condition there to carry.
So are you saying that base conditioning is your minimum 40, or it should be at least?
Well, no, I mean, you know, if you're doing club level up to kind of like national level, like we'll take the Belgians, for example, you know, Belgian championships or British championships, you know, that is a kind
trials,
of
let's say British trials,
yeah. That is a particular level. After that level, then you have a Euro Cup, World Cup level, which is a higher level. So you've got to up the ante, and you've got to up the amount of randers and the amount of work that you do. The amount of base condition, which is your running and your weights and things like that, which enables you then to go in and be stronger with your randeries, but then you've got to increase your base randery. You've got to increase it. And if you're not, you know, you see, the thing is, a lot of people, and we've just had it now in Belgium, a couple of different examples, you know, they want to go into camps, and you know, there was
just coming off injury.
Well, there was one particular parent. This is from a GB example that wrote a letter in stating that their youngster should be put into camps because they think it's a good situation for them to get into condition, and you know, which
build up their condition,
which is an absolute nonsense, because you know the thing is you can't go into camps, especially high level camps, without having a really good base judo condition.
Then the injury is imminent.
You get injured within 2 days, within a day, you know. And you see, the thing is that if you count up, I mean, with the Belgian national team, for example, I did a.
I'm sorry, I don't know what you...
No. To give me an honest appraisal of how many randeries they do per week. And, you know, club practices at lower levels, you know, like orange belts, green belts, brown belts, didn't count of their level. And, you know, most of them didn't get over 20. And that's not a good base in order for them to go out to camps. So we had to increase that base. So we chased randeries, and you know, and then we increased that base and then started sending them to camps. So now we have a set of fighters
who can complete a whole camp.
Who can complete the camps. And the thing is that we were talking about injuries. The problem is they go out, and if they're injured within a day or 2 days, it doesn't do them any good from a physical point of view or psychological point of view. You know, other than that, it's a waste of money. But I mean, you know, it doesn't do anybody any good.
Which a lot of federations don't have.
No.
But the other element we were talking about as well in terms of prevention, like injury prevention, was a lot of them don't do flexibility training. Or like cool downs, or it's not even about cool downs and stretching so you don't hurt. It's about increasing your flexibility and creating that that part of your repertoire.
You're absolutely right. They don't do enough suppling and stretching exercises. You know, the thing is obviously the warm up is different, but the actual stretch and you know, and it's
it can
always
be a session, almost like yoga.
Yeah, absolutely, and it should be. You know, and I think that would really help towards you know, the amount of injuries. I mean, we've got a lot of injuries at the moment in the school. In Belgium, and we're going to have a look at that and see why. And I think, you know, it could be, you know, that could be part of the reason.
Excellent. Okay, well, so we've got quite the anticipation coming up to the games. Now let's look at September. Right, we've had a couple of weeks off. The post-Olympic blues are kind of on us, or we're done with it, or we're elated because we have finally retired and we can go on and be a normal person and do normal things and go on to a normal life. It's not like that, is it?
It's a very difficult situation, and you know, we've talked about it before about the need for good advice, counselling. You could call it counselling.
You can't just retire. It's just not. No, it has to be a process.
I think it has to be a process. I think you're absolutely right. I think, you know, you have to come down very lightly. You know, I mean, I had some of the best randeries in my life my best randori time was from 30 to 40 years of age. And up to 40 years of age, I was doing almost every randori at the camps, but with no pressure on me. And, so physically you still got it, but from a mental perspective, you could never go, you get tempted. You think, well, look, I can still, mix it with the best.
The hunger's gone, though.
It's not, it's the hunger, and it's also, going 6 rounds. And doing 6 now, of course, with the qualification as it is, it makes it very difficult for some of the older ones to come back. It makes it very difficult because you've not only got to come back, it's not just doing one competition, 6 rounds or 5 rounds, but it's doing a load of competitions throughout the year. And then you've got to do the 6 rounds, and it's going to be physically impossible, I think. So I think what we're going to have is shorter careers with the competition program as it is at the moment. For
the coaches as well.
And certainly for the coaches. Well, we said that, didn't we? The thing is that it takes 8 years to really get a good system developed. The first 4 years is to set up the program, and the next one is to implement what the mistakes that you've made. But I've been talking to a lot of the coaches, and they're going to find it very difficult to come back for another 4 years of this.
Okay, well, with the athletes, I know in Canada and in GB, we have quite a comprehensive program for athletes who are coming into retirement. What we'd like to see, obviously, is are the federations to use those athletes and bring them back into the fold as coaches and develop them as coaches. It's not for everybody, though, so there's other people that just want to go back to school or finish their degree. But these programs, they have lifestyle coaches, lifestyle managers, and it shows them, or takes them through how to interview and make a CV and things like that, which I think is so important, because it does, when you had to buy your first pair of trainers, it knocked you between the eyes, didn't it?
Yeah, I thought he was lying to me. I thought he was talking about a house I was buying. But I think that the important thing is that, if you look at the way the French do it, they have really got it right. Their athletes, when they finish, they're straight into the system. It's 2 years of education, how to, run a club, how to set up a club, how to coach at the lower levels, how to develop athletes, nutrition, sports science, everything. So it's all part of a 2-year program. Then they feed them in and develop them and bring them up. And I think that, that is important. The coach education, for athletes that have been so successful is very important. But unfortunately, a lot of countries just shove them straight into top jobs. And, it happened to me in '96. Straight in there, and I had too many things that were put onto me, really for me to handle as a young coach, and I needed an overseer, but and we came unstuck, but that's a whole nother blog. Maybe we'll use that as another blog. Well,
but the other, we talk about how there are these programs that are necessary to get people back on track or assimilate them into quote unquote normal life. But let's talk about your experience. It's someone who was favorite going in, didn't go your way that day, and then you just suddenly retire. How does that affect you psychologically and set you up for your quote unquote normal life?
Well, for me, it affected me in different ways. I was depressed for quite a long time afterwards. It's never left me. The fact that,
it really still haunts you.
Still haunts me that, should have been, double Olympic champion, but, it still haunts me, So I've had I've got a good record, and it could have been even greater, but we have to cope with it, and,
Did you cope with it?
I didn't cope with it, obviously, at one stage I was kind of, drinking too much, and, but I had to get hold of my life and decide that I was going to make changes, and in the end I did. But you know, what we need to do is to ensure that a lot of these athletes don't kind of follow that road, the wrong road, should I say?
Well, they do get a bit lost if there's not somebody there to help them. If there's not a system to support them, and like you say, they're just sort of brushed off or say, right, you've done your thing, thank you very much, we're on to the next age group and the next young rising star. It's a tough thing to deal with psychologically, and unfortunately some athletes do take the wrong path.
They do. I think that what we need to do, you know, from a British point of view, I think that in Britain, you know, they need to have a system where they are using their athletes as soon as their athletes finish, and they help to develop the athletes.
Even if they become a mentor.
Absolutely, they have to, and I think that that's imperative. I think they have to do that in Belgium as well. You know, they don't do it here in Belgium, and they need to do it. And I think that you know, to just have a look at the French, have a look at how they're doing it. Have a look at the Japanese. You know, the Japanese team, you know, is full of ex-champions, and they're all, you know, in there still involved. You know, so it's imperative that we use the expertise that we have. And you know, pretty sad actually that in Belgium they haven't got not one of the former Olympic and world champions involved in the judo at the moment.
Well, Ulla Verbroek went on to be a minister of sport and things like that.
But I mean, you know, in the end, you have to say, well, no, you know, there's something wrong there. Then we have to put it right. And I think we can, you know, help in that way. You know, we can help to develop and look after these athletes. And we have to be there for when it all finishes. Because I can tell you now, all right, it's a long time gone.
Excellent. Well, so 2012 for Neil Adams and Neil Adams Effective Fighting. What do we have to look forward to? We have a few projects that are... You just had a book out. Book came out just before Christmas, Judo Evolution. That seems to be quite a hit.
It does. The Judo Evolution is going crazy, and you know, they keep bringing it out and selling out. You know, with each lot that they bring out. So that's
available at Fighting Films.
Fighting Films, and then our coach education project as well, which is just about to be launched.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
It is, and that's going to come out with Fighting Films as well, and it's going to have. And I'm not going to give too much away, but it's going to have a lot of different modules for coaches from a tachiwaza and from a newaza point of view, and it's going to be very instructive, and it's going to be linked to every syllabus across the globe. So you know, anybody that needs technical data will be able to access it. You know,
also for grading as well.
For gradings and you know, for themselves and for, you know, for their own technical expertise. It's for coaches and for players.
And you've also developed a test with one of the sports scientists here in Belgium, one of the world-renowned Paul Panay.
Yes.
Called the NAP test.
It's called the NAP test, and it's a fitness test. It's a judo specific judo test that you know, different governing bodies will be able to buy into. Individuals be able to buy into it as well. And you know, the thing is that if you've got people coming back after injury, or if you want to assess somebody's physical condition, certainly from a judo perspective, then this is
specifically from a judo perspective.
It's very judo specific. It is a judo test. It's you know, strapping up.
But then what's
doing randoris.
It's a randori test. But what's great about it is the analysis afterwards by two top experts in the field.
Well, that's what makes it different, is that the analysis, you know, will be able to give different directions of how to either change preparation for events, how to reassess some of the, you know, it might be one of the reasons that they're getting injured, or it might be
why they're not progressing.
Why they're not progressing, absolutely. And so, you know, that analysis will help. I think it'll help, you know, different athletes, and I think it'll help the coaches as well.
Excellent. So there's a new website, or not new website. We're creating an app that's going to be a coach education app, coaching resource, where everyone will find this information on the downloads. the NAP test, and featured articles and blogs from different and various sports scientists.
Absolutely.
So we're looking forward to that.
And, you know, the thing is, after Olympic Games, you know, we've got to look forward. We've got 4 years then up to Brazil.
Rio, yeah.
Up to Rio. And, you know, things have gone forward incredibly fast, you know, especially with the rule changes. Judo's developing in a different way, hence the book, Judo Evolution. And, you know, the next 4 years, it's going to develop even further. You know, what we've got to do, and what we do with, you know, fighting films and through all of the TV coverage that we're doing at the moment is we've got to promote our sport, and we've got to promote it in a positive way.
Fantastic. Well, we're looking forward to 2012, and hopefully our next blog after Paris and Dusseldorf.
Exactly. So, yeah, wait for it. I'll let you know, everybody here, how it's all developing up to the Olympic Games.
Fantastic. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.